In this video I'm going to cover the topic of coming up with storylines for your children's picture book. Now, personally, I found this harder than actually creating the images for the book. In my situation, when I was starting it, I was just constantly seemed to be staring at blank pages and flashing cursors on the screen. I just could not come up with an idea for a good storybook. But what I found was that the more I actually tried to come up with a storyline, I was trying too hard, the more nothing came to mind. I actually found that sometimes when I actually stepped away from the laptop and maybe went for a walk with the dog, or just sat down somewhere quiet, just away from all the electronic things, just with a pen and paper, sometimes just inspiration just came to me. I even found sometimes maybe first thing in the morning an idea might come to me. So it's handy to have a pen and paper for when inspiration strikes like that, and you can write it down, because we can't always depend on our memory to remember what that storyline was. So another idea then, if rather than waiting for inspiration to strike, is actually to go and try and find good story ideas. So you can actually do this by writing for maybe 5 or 10 minutes when you have a few moments to yourself, and coming up with a list of the craziest things, and just to not edit yourself, just come up with whatever ideas come to your mind, just cover everything, and just set the timer and just write for 5 or 10 minutes. And then by the end of that time, just read through what you've written down, and you may actually find the beginning of a good story in there somewhere, what might surprise you. So what I'd say too is be patient with yourself, because like everything else, if you've never done picture books and written children's storybooks, it's going to take a while to build up the mental muscle of coming up with storylines. But I know from experience that the more times I actually put myself through this process, the easier it is for me to come up with stories. But in this video now, I'm going to actually just to help you along and let you come up with more ideas. So one that I found very helpful was the what if. Just those two words, what if. What if is a great idea, a story generator. Even just sitting wherever you are at the moment, just look around you and just come up with, ask yourself the what if question. So at the moment, my dog now is sitting on the far side of the room, so I've come up with a what if, and what if he could speak? What would he say, or what would he do? Or what if the Christmas decorations came to life on Christmas Eve? Or what if he had 3 wishes, what would they be? Now this was one that I actually came up with a storyline for my book, Ushin and the Tooth Fairy. And what happened was, we were actually talking one night about the Tooth Fairy with Ushin, and I just came up with the idea that what if the Tooth Fairy actually turned up and didn't have any coins to give him in exchange for his teeth? What could they give him? So in that situation, I came up with the Tooth Fairy actually give him a wish. So the wish was that he would shrink in size for one night, and in that night then he could run around and he could play with all his toys. So that was just a simple idea, just what if. Another one idea that you could, just as I was actually typing this up, was what if something happened at the factory where your favourite coal or food was made and it gave you superpowers? Or what if there was a secret message in your local paper that only you could see? So as you can see there, like, what if is a great idea just for coming up with ideas. Some of them now might be crazy and maybe you mightn't be using, but it could give you just the start of a story to get the ball rolling. Now another one you could actually use is life lessons. So what life lessons or messages did your parents drum into your head when you were younger growing up? Things like stop picking your nose or it'll fall off. Like, what if that did happen? What if your nose did fall off? Where would it go? Is there a place where all the noses go? Or what if somebody's nose actually came to life and told the child to stop picking it because it was annoying her? Or another one is like watching TV gives you square eyes. What if it did? What if you woke up with square eyes? How would that be? Or things like eat your greens. What if you didn't? What if the character that you were thinking of creating was an animal that normally eats veg but then stops and refuses to do it? What then? What could you put in? What life lesson could you put in that book, maybe to get them eating greens again, or something along that line? Or maybe another one could be maybe never talk to strangers, or your parent might have said maybe a stranger is a friend you don't know yet. So could you create a storyline about a child afraid to make friends at school or at a club or something, and then they overcome that problem in some way and are grateful that they actually did? Or if you're still finding it hard, all I can say is just go to your target audience, grab a kid. So can you find a child and discuss your work with them? There's no better place than working with your potential customers. So as you do, like, ask questions like, if they could write a book, what would it be? What's their favourite book, and why is it their favourite book? You know, what do they like about the storyline? Or what's their least favourite book, or why is it their least favourite book? It'll just give you an idea of what maybe you should put into a book and what you shouldn't put into a book. Or if they had two of their favourite books, you know, could you combine them together? What would they be? You know, if they could take the characters out of one book and put it in the storyline of another book, what would it be? And could you do that then? Or what's their favourite cartoon? Could you use a storyline from a cartoon episode and work your characters into it? I know in the case of my son at the moment, he's a big fan of SpongeBob. So like, there's that many episodes of SpongeBob. Could you sit down and watch a 5 or 10 minute episode and just take notes in that episode of what actually happens into it? And then could you take that storyline then and use it with characters of your own and create a children's picture book with that? Or if you don't have any children nearby that you can actually use, why don't you just go to the library and browse through the children's section or your local bookstore and go to the children's section and see what is out on display or what seems to be popular, and just take ideas from that. Again, maybe could you combine two storybooks those together, or could you take like a one of the teams and convert it into a kind of more child friendly thing where maybe you're using animals as the characters rather than humans? Another one you could do is TV and movies. You know, what's your favourite? What's the most popular movies at present? Could you do a child-friendly version of it? I know myself, I was a big fan of the Jack Reacher books, and although I like the movies too as well, you know, could you make a Jack Reacher, a child-friendly version of that book? Like, what could be maybe a child that other kids call in to sort out bullying problems? Or even the movie at the moment, The Girl on the Train, you know, could become the girl in the school bus. What mystery or secret could you witness while going to school one day? Or Wolverine could become maybe a child that gets scratched by a strange cat and then finds he's got cat claws and that help him climb walls and trees. You know, or even what if you could walk into your favourite movie or TV show? You know, how great would that be, spending the day with your favourite TV or movie character? Maybe going through a storyline of one of their shows, or they come to you for help. So as you can see, like, you know, even I am sure that even if you was just going through this short video, you probably have a couple of ideas maybe you could use. But if you still find yourself, you know, with your mind still blank and you still can't actually come up with something, what you could do is go into maybe google.com and do just simple search just for storyline generators. And what these do is you just kind of maybe had to put a couple of bits of information into it and just click the button, and then it'll give you just the bare bones of a storyline. So maybe you could use one of those then to create a storyline then if you find that you're still having problems coming up with a storyline for your children's picture book. But I'm sure after watching this video you should have plenty of ideas that you could use for a great storyline.